is convening this hour to discuss the increasingly dire conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Hamas fired more than 120 rockets overnight, according to the Israeli Air Force, and Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 43 Palestinians so far on Sunday, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Palestinian officials say in total at least 188 people in Gaza and 21 in the West Bank have died in the conflict. Many of the dead have been women and children. Violence when he spoke Saturday with both Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Let's get the latest on the ground from CNN's great Nick Robertson, who joins us live from Ashdod, an Israeli city just north of the Gaza Strip. Welcome, Nick. Let me ask you, when people hear the numbers, you know, the disproportion in terms of casualties, it's about 20 Palestinians for every Israeli who have died, about the same numbers injured. Does it feel like that on the ground?
I think when you're outside of Gaza, there's an entirely different sense of the level of danger you face than if you're inside Gaza. Gaza is a very densely populated place. It is a relatively small place. And the Israeli Defense Forces say that they know that Hamas put some of its operational equipment, people, material in amongst the civilian population. The Israeli government makes the point of saying that they are defending the civilians, that they go out of their way to make sure that they don't hit civilians, whereas Hamas, they say, fires their rockets indiscriminately. But undoubtedly, when you look at those figures and see 188 people killed in Gaza and 10 Israeli citizens killed so far, those numbers speak to a level of threat. I think it's hard to draw a conclusion. But they don't mitigate, they don't eradicate that sense of fear and desperateness about the situation that people on both sides of this conflict feel. They both feel fear, whether you're sitting on this side or the other side. That disproportionality is what in the past has brought international pressure on Israel to back off, to try to find a peaceful solution.
This time, what seems different, and you tell me if I'm wrong, Nick, is you are beginning to see clashes within Israel proper, among Israeli Arabs and Israeli Jews, on a scale certainly that I don't recall having seen before.
There's a ferocity and an intensity there that really flashed a couple of days ago, and that really has caught everyone by surprise. I think one of the other things about this time, this particular conflict around Gaza, is the speed with which it's happened. The massive number of rockets that have been fired in a relatively short space of time. That's certainly the IDF's perception of the situation. The sort of speed with which the escalation has come, and the consequences, and the way that it's played out on the streets in Israel, in mixed cities and towns, is something that really speaks to some serious, significant underlying tensions that are coming to the surface in the way that they haven't in the past. I think if you look at the signaling that's going on here at the moment this weekend, last night Hamas signaled that they would not fire rockets at Tel Aviv on the coast for a period of 2 hours between 10 p.m. and midnight, and then right after midnight they fired those rockets. But they signaled there their ability to pause, to, in effect, you wouldn't call it a ceasefire, but that's what it amounted to. On the Israeli side, the signaling today, the highest death toll so far in Gaza, signals that there are still a large number of targets that the Israeli Defense Forces want to hit. They struck the house of the leader of Hamas. That's a political message right there. They've struck today weapons stores that Hamas uses. So from an Israeli perspective, it seems there is more to be done. From a Hamas perspective, it seems that they're signaling that their own political gains have maybe been achieved.
Nick, you've covered this conflict for a long time. You've covered others like Yugoslavia. When you look at this, does it feel to you that Are you hopeful that we are moving toward a ceasefire, or does what strike you as this time it's different? There seems to be this eruption of internal tension. You know, very quickly, give us just your own gut feeling about all this.
My gut feeling is that there's a good possibility that this will de-escalate next week. Certainly the meeting at the United Nations will call for that, and there's certainly pressure coming from the Biden administration for that to happen. So there's a good possibility for that. Nevertheless, the actual route of the conflict remains in a cul-de-sac, and the direction of travel is towards the end of that cul-de-sac. No one's opened the road out of this dead end, if you will, to really get to the root issues over land and find a lasting, durable peace solution. What may happen now will likely just be a temporary band-aid again.